Hello and welcome to the High Note Podcast. I am your host, Sean Smith. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. I can't believe that it's November. Before I know it, I'll be playing Alice's Restaurant during Thanksgiving. It's one of my own personal traditions. And then it's Christmas music until the new year, right? So a lot of Bob Dylan's Must Be Santa will be played here at the Smith household. But we're never here to talk about me. The podcast is always to shine a light on my guests. And my guest today, I've been seeing him. I think the first time I saw John Flynn perform at the Philadelphia Folk Festival was in 2008 or 2009, and I was completely blown away by this guy. He reminded me of a combination of Arlo Guthrie and Kris Kristofferson. The latter I was more familiar with prior to really diving into folk music, and then I had gotten more into Arlo as I started to learn a little bit more about folk music. I'd only known of Arlo as Alice's Restaurant and Woody's Son, right? And the only reason I knew who Woody Guthrie was because I liked Bob Dylan. So I was never really a folk music guy. I was always just a Bob Dylan fan. And when I started going to the Philadelphia Folk Festival, getting more educated about the folk music scene, John Flynn's name was always there. And I'd actually gone specifically to the Common Ground on the Hill Festival in Maryland just to see John Flynn in 2010. And I thought it was so cool that I was basically right up front. And I thought it was the coolest thing in the world to be that close to John Flynn. And since then, he's been ever present at the Philadelphia Folk Festival. If you've gone recently, since the passing of Gene Shea, John has become the MC of the Folk Festival and has even taken up the mantle of chief joke teller on the main stage, which is tremendous. John has had an incredible career in the folk music scene. He's also done a lot of really good work for a lot of worthy causes, one of them being folks who are incarcerated or who have just gotten out of prison, and that's with his nonprofit New Beginnings Next Step. So he just had a big benefit concert to benefit New Beginnings Next Step. We talk about that in the podcast. We also talk about his upcoming album, his album that just came out, Kindred Spirits, which you can get on all the streaming platforms. I'm going to put that in the show notes so you can check that out whenever you get a chance. So he also has a show coming up November 23rd at 7:30 at the Mainline Unitarian Church in Devon, PA. And that is a concert for the Kerrville flood relief. So you can check him out on November 23rd. You can get those details on his website. It's johnflynn.net. And also, he's got a holiday concert, which he said is an annual thing, to benefit Camp Dreamcatcher, and that is on December 18th. So you can get all of that information at johnflynn.net. That is in the show notes. Just a little bit of a warning. There's a little bit of a connection issue throughout the podcast. Just, be patient, hang in there with me. It's one of those things where we try our best here at the High Note, me and my staff of myself. we try pretty hard to make these things work. Sometimes it just happens that way. Sometimes when you do it on a computer or online, right, with a Zoom or a Google Meet or whatever, then the person just cuts out and you can't hear anything when the connection goes. The phone, sometimes when that goes, it just gets staticky. So you'll hear a little bit of static here. It's not a super big deal. It cleans up. There's just some gremlins in the line. We have quite a bit of wind. I'm here in South Jersey. John is in Delaware. So it's quite a windy day. So the cell service wasn't cooperating all the way. So if you made it this far in the intro, thank you for listening. If you get a chance, please subscribe to The High Note wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out the blog at highnoteblog.com. You can check me out on social media at highnoteblog. And we also have a newsletter. So you can sign up for that at highnoteblog.com. So without further ado, this is really a dream come true. So without further ado, my interview with singer-songwriter John Flynn. John Flynn, welcome to the High Note Podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Sean. How's it going, man?
Fantastic. It's been, I feel like it was just yesterday that I saw you since the Philly Folk Festival, but I know that you've been all over the world since then. I think that you were in Norway for a little bit. Where in the world has John Flynn been since the middle of August?
Oh, well, I had been invited over to Kristiansand, Norway, to perform at the protest festival in September, and so we used that as an excuse to visit some other places. So yeah, I was away a little bit.
Oh, that's great. Is that the first time that you've performed there?
Yes,
Cool. How did it go?
it went terrific. I was under the impression when they hired me that it was more of a music festival, but it's more like Takwa. It was a festival of ideas, and writers and poets and kind of I don't know, for a better term, thought leaders, uh, mostly from Norway, but from all over Europe. Actually, were brought in for a week, and they had these amazing um, workshops where they really went hard at the issues of the day. And the festival's been going on 20 years, and it's dedicated to the idea of protesting indifference and apathy and getting people more, connected and involved. So I was down with the whole idea, and I did a special concert that was kind of remembering my friend Kris Kristofferson. Um, but the interesting thing, the thing that I didn't see coming was there was one night when I was uh, to do a song in front of a panel that was discussing Donald Trump, and like I said, they had folks pro and con on this panel. Um, but I found out the day before that not only was I singing, but I was giving a 10-minute speech about what the nations of the world should do in response to what's going on in America. And I was not prepared for that. So I really kind of ended up speaking from the heart. And my remarks were published in a national newspaper the next day. So I thought I was going to get into a little bit hot water. uh, but like Arlo said, I have not yet become the threat I once hoped I would be. I don't think it really got on anybody's radar or under anybody's skin. So, uh, but it was good to get some things off my chest.
Oh, that's great. I love that. Yeah, have you it actually leads me to one of my questions about your songwriting is did it, I feel like that protest songs are something that you're used to, or at least songs that are topical in terms of things that you know maybe you see a different light or think that there should be some change in the world. What came first? Was it the political side, the activism side, or the songwriting side? How which one came first?
Oh, songwriting by far. Yeah, I had been writing since almost since the time I picked up a guitar, which was when I was about 12. And I started out as a staff writer in Nashville at Combine Music, which incidentally or coincidentally was Kris Kristofferson's publisher, which is one of the reasons I ended up getting to know Kris. So that was back then I was kind of more uh, tilted towards trying to write the next big country hit, and getting my stuff on the radio and all those dreams of fame and glory. Um, and it's been a long kind of steady road from there that went lots of different places that I never anticipated. But activism showed up for me when I got involved in working against the death penalty here in my state of Delaware. And so I became uh, more political as a result of beginning to pay attention, uh, first on that issue and then others. and my songwriting naturally followed, because those were the things that I was uh, wrestling with, intellectually and in my heart.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's definitely a very worthy cause. And what made you what made that issue, the death penalty in Delaware, make you get activated or motivated?
Well, that's a great example of, people need to be asked, and I was asked. A guy came up to me, introduced himself. He has since become one of my dearest friends. His name is Kevin O'Connell. He's the chief public defender in the state of Delaware now, but back then he was in private practice as an attorney, and he was the president of Delaware Citizens opposing the death penalty. And he introduced himself to me after church once Sunday morning at a little meet and greet, a little coffee uh, clatch, and we got to talking, and he said, "If you don't mind me asking, what do you think of the death penalty?" And I said, "Capital punishment." And he said, "No, the death penalty." And I said, I hadn't. I said, I think I'm probably against it, but I haven't really thought hard about it, and I haven't done enough work to to say one way or the other, like, so I know how I kind of lean, but I don't know that I could make an argument pro or con. And Kevin said, "Well, you owe it to yourself to do the work, and you owe it to the rest of us to do the work." And the next day, there was a box on my porch with magazine articles and books and DVDs and a copy of Sister Helen Prejean's Dead Man Walking, as well as the actual movie with Susan Sarandon starred in. Um, and I immersed myself in the work of learning what this was, and what I believed my response should be to it. And then we ended up forming something called Musicians Encouraging the Repeal of Capital Punishment, which is the Mercy, uh, and the Mercy concerts we began to put on brought musicians, largely folk musicians, uh, from all over the place to raise awareness. And we actually had Sister Helen speak at a couple of those events. But that was kind of the beginning of me, uh, kind of venturing out onto a stage and speaking from my heart about uh, something that was going on in the world. Um, and I guess I haven't really backed down from then. It's only gotten me into more trouble.
Good trouble, as John Lewis would
Yeah,
say, right?
exactly. Yeah.
How long ago was that? About.
That was in that was in 2001. Matter of fact, the first Mercy concert took place about a month after 9/11, which was not a particularly mercy-filled time in this country, because there was a lot of uh, a thirst for vengeance. Um, but yeah, that was so like almost 25 years ago now.
Wow. And was that when you first started working with the correctional system, or I'm not with it, but with folks who are incarcerated?
That would come later. About 2005, I started going into Howard R. Young Correctional Institution once a week to run a peer support group for incarcerated individuals, and that's went on for a few years until it became two groups a week, and then some of my guys were getting out of prison, and we started an outside group for returning citizens. And 20 years later now, I'm the executive director of a nonprofit, because at some point I started raising money from my audiences to help with some of the challenges of reentry. Um, so that's been a huge blessing in my life changing for me in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean that is amazing work. I mean that they say that that is one of the hardest things, that once you're in the system, you're kind of caught up in the system. What made you want to reach out and start volunteering at the prison?
This group had been started by a Franciscan friar named Brother David Schlatter, and David ran a street mission in Wilmington called the Franciscan Center. And back then, I was had begun really learning and following St. Francis. So I started showing up at the center a lot and got to know David. And um, when he was transferred to Silver Spring, Maryland, where he continues to be the chaplain at the Walter Reed Medical Center there. But he asked me to take over for him at the prison. And originally I said no. I said no a couple times because I didn't feel like that much that I could offer um, by by my life experience or by my training that would be of value to the men that I would meet there. And little by little, and David challenged me because of, we are, if we profess in our faith to be followers of the teachings of Jesus of Nazareth, then we are literally instructed to visit the prisoner. And David said, that's not like metaphor, that's not like poetry. That's what he expects. And most people don't have that opportunity, and you're being offered the chance. So be careful about turning it down. And so I just kind of went on faith and little by little learned to talk less and to listen more. And as I listened, I became much better at in the role of facilitator. And like I said, it changed my life.
That's amazing. That's really great work. And I mean, New Beginnings' next step is continuing to this day. You just had a concert, benefit concert, didn't you?
Yeah. We had I tried to do one every year, and so we played. I played a show at the Art and Guild Hall here in Delaware back in September, which was a lot of fun. And a couple of my guys, actually two returning citizens who've been out, each of them have been out of prison for over a decade, and both of them now serve on my board of directors. And they both were kind enough to speak to the audience that night, and it was a very special evening. And what's really incredible is that both men have and others have agreed to be volunteers uh, in the prison. So they go back, they accompany me back into prison to work with guys who are serving their sentences. And that when I first asked them, I didn't realize what a huge thing I was asking, because there's so much um, post-traumatic stress that goes along with uh, being incarcerated. And to ask somebody to revisit the place where he went through some of the darkest moments of his life, um, every guy that I asked said no in the beginning, and every guy came back after a couple of weeks and said yes, because they realized how powerful these groups were while they were serving time, and they wanted to be part of the healing that it can bring to guys. So these guys are my heroes.
Wow, wow, that's powerful, John. That's amazing work that you're doing, and I mean, you can tell that it's had an amazing impact on your life, as you've mentioned. How that experience has impacted your songwriting.
Oh, certainly, yeah. Um, it's well, it's changed me, so it would therefore necessarily change my songwriting. And it, it changes the way you see the world. Um, and if you're writing authentically, then your song should reflect that, right?
Definitely. Now, can you talk a little bit about the challenges that these gentlemen and women are facing?
Um, that's well, that's a big question, because there are so many and on so many different levels. Guys coming out of prison are facing um, certainly financial challenges, um, housing challenges, employment, social challenges. Um, but what I have come to learn is that, and there's a guy named Greg Boyle who runs Homeboy Industries out in L.A. And he explained to me that it can't be just an issue-based solution, because he said he said people who get employed people will reoffend, educated people will reoffend, but healed people will not reoffend. And so the healing is the part that has to accompany all the rest. And the healing, as I've been privileged to see it, happens in relationship, and these relationships are part of what make new beginnings and next step. New beginnings is the part we do inside. Next step is the groups for returning citizens. But what's unique about our group is that we meet you and work with you while you're in prison, and then we are still available. You're still part of the family when you come out. So you're coming to a group where you're going to interact with guys exactly you're standing now, and with feel of being that. I think the biggest, most favorite men when you've been in your pocket, and or judged by what you have in your pocket. So it can be tempting to go back to behaviors that once were able to put something in your pocket very quickly. Right? And then, of course, since the opiate epidemic, a large portion of our guys are dealing with some kind of recovery issues, and that compounds everything. So it's a big mountain to climb. But we have guys who have received full pardons and overcome all of these things, and when they go back into prison and say you can do this, then feel. And these guys, uh, the guys I mean, they have unity they've never experienced. Hope can be a very powerful thing, and it can get you a long way when the odds are against you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing that you're doing this fine work to provide that hope to people. And I also noticed, doing some research for this interview, that you've also worked with veterans as well. Are there parallels? Because you mentioned kind of being inside, you're kind of in the system, then you come outside. Is that similar to veterans who are in the military? Maybe they're stationed overseas and then they come back home. And has that influenced your work with veterans as well?
Um, there is. I've observed some parallels, um, for between incarcerated guys and guys who have served, especially guys who have served in combat. Um, and uh, there's especially with men who, because we haven't been taught to trust our woundedness, and so we've been taught to cover it up, and not even acknowledge it ourselves a lot of the times. So both populations have seen temptation to self-medicate, you know, and bury the wounds, and that is never the way forward, and tends never to be healthy. So you know and I don't think it's just these two segments of our society, but I have observed some similarities. Yes.
Now, do you encourage these guys to write? Because that can be a very therapeutic and healthy way to get out some of these emotions.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We as a matter of fact, just last week, one of our who's I think probably going to be getting out of prison in about 2 years. Um, he was counseling somebody who going through a time, and he brought up important this be to and as of getting stuff among the, the darkness under the what's the word for this gets the base, and you writing it down on a piece of paper, even if you don't save that paper, even if you crumple it up and throw it out. It's a kind of a release. I mean, I know it has been for me, just, and it's probably why I continue to write songs. Um, so yeah, writing. Um, we encourage a meditative practice of some sort. We encourage a spiritual practice, although uh, we're not trying to tell you, which faith tradition or what to call God, but we do uh, we do encourage a tradition or a practice involving your higher power, um, and lots of other things. I mean, it's the more tools you can put in your bag, the better you are, you better equipped you are to to go to tackle the job, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's what it's all about. Sometimes, as you know, as a hard-headed young man, right? I've had my fair share of trying to figure it out, and I definitely don't have it figured out. But yeah, it's about having that toolkit and remembering that you have it, right? That there are multiple tools to help you kind of get through an issue. And sometimes that's the hardest part, to remember that, like, oh yeah, I can go do this. It's good to get out and go for a walk, that type of thing.
The main thing is to develop self-awareness, because you have the tools, but if you don't remember to use them, if you don't remember to take that deep, you don't remember to relax, your shoulders and say a silent prayer, or take time to count to 10, or go have a talk with somebody that you trust, back on the tier, and get this stuff, uh, you know when the opportunity is fresh, rather than burying it, especially in prison, when you are so vulnerable, and stuff that you don't get a chance to let out can build up inside, because there's so many moments in the day you are respect, when you feel challenged, either by the system or other incarcerated individuals. Um, you have you have healthy. This is uh, uh, keep yourself safe. You know?
That leads me. I wanted to ask you about your latest album, Kindred Spirits. What was the inspiration behind that?
The songs kind of came together over the course of a couple of years. Um, and I suppose, in a way, the songs are kindred spirits, but the actual title song is about my old Martin D28, which has been down this long road with me, and it started out real shiny and pretty, like I used to be, and little by little, the road has taken its toll on the appearance of the guitar, but the music is sweeter, and I like to think the same. It's the same with me. Like I said, or that's my hope anyway.
Well, as somebody who has seen you fairly recently, I would say you are pretty new and shiny. But
Ah,
what is the story from about that guitar? When did you get it, and whose signatures are on it?
I bought that in the summer of um, 1979 at Medley Music in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania. It's no longer there. Wonderful old music store. And I bought it with the tuition money I had saved up for my final year at Temple University, where I was studying pre-law. And I guess somehow I knew that the, the guitar was going to be more important to me than a law degree. Um, and it's just been uh, rode hard and put away wet over the years. It's lived in the back of my truck through some really tough winters. Um, long ago lost its pick guard and a lot of the wood off the front. Maverick, there's a little dime size hole, nothing like Willie Nelson has, but there's definitely some ventilation in the face of the guitar. Um, and it's been lost a couple times by the airlines and cracked a couple times by soundmen, and it just keeps sounding sweeter. And the names that I have on the front are heroes that I got the the chance to work with. Folks like Arlo and Willie and uh, Rodney Crowell and Ramblin' Jack and Kris Kristofferson. So yeah, the guitar is very special to me, and it was just a a song that came out of thinking about where we'd been together.
That's tremendous. Yeah, and mentioning Kris Kristofferson, you wrote a song recently, Chris's Rules. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, yeah, it was just my way of saying goodbye when Kris died. Hit me real hard because he was not only a hero, he was a dear friend, and I had been uh, incredibly kind to me over the years. Um, got me out on stages that I had no right uh, being on, you know, by dint of my own popularity. Um, but he always believed in my music, and whenever he could get me spotlight, he did. And so I'll never forget him. And just knowing him and loving his music the way I did made me a better songwriter, made me want to be a better songwriter. Um, so yeah, it hit me hard when we lost him, and this song kind of came a few days after that. And I when I wrote it, I had the audacity of including some of his words as the chorus of the song, and I didn't have permission to do that, but I wrote to his widow, Elisa Christopherson, who's also a very good friend. And I told her, I wouldn't play this, I wouldn't show these lyrics to anybody unless she approved them, but I hoped it would be okay to use Chris's uh, words, and they were basically his rules for living, his code, which is tell the truth, sing with passion, work with laughter, and love with heart. And so I wanted to share those and sing those for the world. So Lisa gave me her okay, and then I put a melody to it, and we recorded it, and I sent it to her, and she told me that she really loved the song, and she thought Kris would too, and she said, oh, and by the way, I think he'd want to be a co-writer. So I got the honor of typing his name next to mine on the lyric sheet, which is, I think, the biggest honor I'll ever get as a songwriter.
Oh, that's great. I love to hear that. And I'm sorry that you lost your friend, but I'm sure that he would be happy. But I, as a listener, am happy that you got a really good song out of it. Um, I think that that's a great tribute to a friend. There's probably no better tribute that a songwriter could do than to write a song for their friend, right?
Well, I don't know. I just know that it was something I had to do, you know.
Yeah, yeah. That's the funny thing about songs, right? Are
The
are
good
you?
ones, right? The good ones. They have to be written. They
Yeah.
they they, they kind of elbow their way into the world.
Yeah, and now I have to ask you, since you had mentioned that Kris helped you get onto some stages, I feel like that you've helped some songwriters get on stage with your work at the Philadelphia Folk Festival. My first question is when did you first either start going or hear about the Folk Fest?
I think I first attended as a member of the ticket buying public back in like 1980, um, and had heard about it from an old folky friend of mine, a guy named Ed Williams, who had been a mentor of mine as I was starting to, try my hand. And probably played there for the first time in '93. Um, and it was just like finding a home. I've been there many, many times since there, both on workshop stages and on the main stage. And in the last few years of Gene Shea's life, I had the joy of kind of co-hosting with him, um, and and then in the last couple years, I've been asked you know to take over the hosting task, and that's been really a lot of fun, because it feels like family, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you do a great job. You seem like a natural. Is this ever something that
I'm
you wanted
I'm
to
not
do?
a natural. I'm not a natural. That's for sure. In fact, last year they wanted jokes. I don't know if you were there, but the audience
Yes.
started saying, tell us jokes. And I said, no, that's Gene's thing. That Gene was no jokes. That's his mark, and that's not me. And they're like, they started chanting, "We want a joke." And I realized that the joke is not just the Gene tradition; it's a festival tradition. Right? Thank goodness I had a cell phone, because I went out to the world and I said, I need material, and I need it now. And so we were having fun, because that's not my thing, and at one point I told the audience, I get this now. I thought this was a form of human sacrifice, but it's actually it's actually sadomasochism, and I'm starting to enjoy inflicting this pain on you. So we had a good time, and it's just the one of my very favorite places and times of the year, and places in the world.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's great. I'm very familiar with the jokes. You might not remember. I sent you some jokes that you deemed too bad for the stage, and I.
Oh, I apologize for forgetting, because I was getting dozens and dozens, but thank you for the help. I truly appreciate it.
I'm here to redeem myself. I want to tell you one joke from the list that I sourced from the internet. Of course, I didn't come up with these. How many folk singers does it take to change a light bulb?
Oh, I think I told this one, didn't I?
Did you?
Um, I think I did. Um, I can't remember the setup is very familiar, but I can't remember the punchline. So how many?
One to change it, and three to sing about how much better the old one was.
The old. I'm thinking it might be that. Um, I'm pretty sure I told that one.
Oh, good,
Um,
good. I think you do a great job as an MC. And has that influenced your songwriting at all? I mean, has being up there as a different part of a festival changed the way that you look at the music industry or the way that you look at your music?
hmm. um, I don't think so. I think songs come from a different place. I I I I can't say. that listening to good music doesn't change my songwriting, because it's just the best seat in the house, um, for like 3 days. So you really get carried along by these amazing artists. So I wouldn't discount the that a particular lick or a groove or a line of a song doesn't find its way into my subconscious and lodge there until some later date. But not on a conscious level, I don't think.
Yeah, well, I mean, at any rate, I hope that you continue your hosting duties. Although I know it can get a little hectic between performing and hosting, I think you do a fantastic job and really help bring the crowd together in between sets.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit earlier about you giving back. It seems like most of what you do is giving back. You have a couple of benefit concerts coming up, don't you? One, Kerrville flood relief. You want to tell me about that, and then another one in Lansdowne.
Yeah, well, on one's coming up real quick, because this Sunday night, November 23rd, I'll be with uh, a bunch of songwriters who have either played um, the Kerrville Folk Festival, or have competed in their famous New Folk contest. But when I first heard about the flood, I have a history with Kerrville, um, and I've appeared there on the main stage, and um, just a couple of years I was the host of their New Folk competition. But anyway, as a matter of fact, the year I hosted that, a local singer songwriter, wonderful artist named Aaron Nathans, was competing. And so I reached out to Aaron, because he's a local guy here. And I said, there's probably a lot of like you and me in the area who have a big place in our heart for Kerrville. And wouldn't it be great if we could, do something to, number one, say we're thinking of you, we love you, and if we can raise a few bucks, then that's all to the better. So um, unfortunately, it was right before the Philly Folk Festival, and Aaron and I were working there, so we didn't get a chance to get at it right away. And then, like you said, I was off to Norway and Ireland after that. So anyway, November 23rd, Sunday night, at the Mainline Unitarian Church, I think it is. Well, if I'm misstating that, you can look at on my website at johnflynn.net. But but it's for Kerrville flood relief. And then on December 18th, I'll be at the Flash in Kennett Square. And I do this every year. It's a fundraiser for Camp Dreamcatcher, which is a therapeutic summer camp for kids whose lives have been affected by AIDS and HIV. And I've been involved raising money and working with the kids at Camp Dreamcatcher for 30 years now. So I always do a concert for the uh, every year out in Chester County, Pennsylvania, and and like I said, we've been doing these fundraising concerts for annually for 30 years. So it's kind of a Christmas tradition, and that's on December 18th. And December 4th, I get the unusual opportunity to try and make money for myself, which seems to happen less and less. But I'll be at the Lansdowne Folk Club, and I'm really looking forward to that.
Oh, that's great. I have to, before I ask you, I ask every guest the same three questions at the end. But I have to ask you, you had mentioned early in your career, you were trying to write the next big country hit. Can you take me back to the beginning real quick and tell me about how you got started? When did you first decide that you want to be a musician and follow down that path?
I remember my grandma, my dad, sitting me down in front of the Glenn Campbell Good Time Hour when I was, I don't know, like fifth grade or something like that. And she, for some reason, she told me that was what I was supposed to do. Um, and shortly after that, my uncle, uh, her son Kevin, my dad's brother, was coming out of the Marine Corps. He'd been when he came home, he brought an old guitar with him, which he left at my house for a couple of days, and he scrawled a couple chords out on a napkin for me. And he used to sing, Kingston Trio and Peter, Paul and Mary kind of folk songs. If I had a hammer and Michael row your boat ashore, those kind of stuff the stuff we used to sing around the campfires. And and so once I learned those chords, I just started singing, and I haven't shut up since. So at some point, I realized it was as easy to write your own song as it was to learn somebody else's. And so about that time, I started writing and put myself through college playing in little bands, which were, we do some original music and some cover stuff. And then at the end of college, when I finished up, I instead to law school, I went to Nashville, and I, you know, kind of hit Music Row with my cassette tapes and my guitar. And the first song I ever got recorded was a 3/4 time ballad called Rainbows and Butterflies. It was recorded by a guy named Billy Swan, who'd had a number one a kind of rock and roll hit called I Can Help back when I was in high school. And Billy was on Epic Records, but he was also uh, the lead guitar player for Kris Kristofferson's band. So he would open the shows for Kris, and he would play in the band. And through Billy, I met Kris. And um, I think at that point, I had a couple children's albums that were doing pretty good. My kids were little, and I would write songs for them. And so we recorded a couple kind of family albums. And after I met Chris, I got an order from we got a check from Hana, Hawaii, and he and his wife Lisa bought a case of my children's records for the Hana Elementary School. So they gave them out to the kids in Hana. And as a matter of fact, one of Chris's kids tells me that if you walk on a beach in Hawaii and you approach a fire, any bonfire, you're going to hear a kid with a ukulele or a guitar singing a song called "A Manatee Sneezed on Me," which is one of my songs. He said because we all grew up with these records, so maybe that's going to be my legacy. But then, like around, and I was touring a little bit and playing bar gigs to support, pay the mortgage and kind of help support my family. And little by little, it kind of moved away from those cover oriented gigs to going out on the road and trying to get folks to sit still while I sang one of my songs. And I haven't stopped yet.
Oh, that's great. I love that. And I love A Manatee Sneezed on Me. This year, this folk festival was the first time that I ever heard that. And the first time that I heard you was around 2008, 2009, I think. I've been seeing you perform, and that's the first time I've heard that one. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that came out sometime in the 90s, and that was getting quite a lot of airplay on WXPN's Kids Corner with my friend Kathy O'Connell. So she opened the door to a lot of younger fans for me back when I put it out. And I'll
Oh,
always be grateful.
that's great. That's great. I love that. Yeah, and I love your story too. I was a pre-law student playing in bars in college as well, and decided that I wanted to be a newspaper writer instead of going to law school. So I definitely I love that side of your story as I wasn't even a law school dropout. I never even went.
If we've done nothing else for the world, we've at least reduced the number of lawyers by two. So they got to give us some credit, right?
Absolutely. Oh, that's great. John, was there anything that you think that I should have asked, or anything else that you want to mention before I ask you three final questions?
Sure. I appreciate your interest.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So the first question is, what was the first album that you either bought or received as a gift?
I I think it might have been by the time I get to Phoenix. Gamble.
Wow, why did you get that? Because you saw him on TV?
Yeah, I think that's about that time that song came out. I don't remember if anybody gave it to me or I bought it down at the 5 and 10. They used to have a little LP rack. That comes to mind anyway. Um, I think my grandmom had given us a little like a portable record player, like those kind of suitcase Victrolas, and came with a couple albums that had Christmas music on. Al Hurt's Christmas album or something that might have been the officially first record I ever, and maybe Boys. Um, but I think the first album that I actually sought out was that Glenn Campbell record. And to this day, I think by the time I get to Phoenix is one of the greatest songs ever written. So I've apparently had good taste as a little kid.
Definitely something that's gotten better with time, I'm sure.
You can't beat Jimmy Webb, man.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Now, next question is, what was the first concert that you ever attended?
I I think it was going to see Chicago at the Philadelphia Spectrum.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I was a big Chicago fan, which seems to surprise people, but um, I still like their music, and it has nothing to do with the kind of music that I do. Just it was uh, it was a lot of fun. I got a lot of joy from their music.
Yeah, yeah. Any specific memories from that concert?
No, I'm not. Um, I guess that's the first experience of I'm actually standing under the same roof as Terry Kath. Like I'm in the same room. It's a big room. That proximity to one of your heroes it's almost a transcendental kind of realization. At least it was for me. Um, I think that's one of the main things I had back from.
Yeah, there's nothing quite like live music.
Yeah.
It's quite an experience. So, last question. What is your favorite soundtrack or score from a movie? And the caveat is that musicals don't count. So don't hit me with like Jesus Christ Superstar. Uh, but yeah, your favorite soundtrack or score from a movie?
Well, because I'm a runner, I love uh, the Mohicans. That that soundtrack, especially the opening when you see Daniel Day Lewis running after the elk through the woods. If
Yeah.
you're out on a cross country trail and you're flagging in energy and spirit, you put that on, and man, you start to fly. It just so I think that's my favorite.
I love that. Are you a runner? Is that how you stay in such great shape?
Yeah, I've been a runner since my college days, and I've probably done about 35 marathons over the years. Um, so it was for me, it was just a way because the road is really tough to kind of be healthy on, and it also I think kind of running kind of kept my spirits level up. So I've been doing it pretty uh, religiously for however many years that's been, 50 years now, something like that.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah, and if if you're a young struggling singer songwriter, if the truck breaks down, you can just strap the guitar to your back and run to the next gig, right?
I suppose theoretically, I've never tried to run too far with my go through an air. I haven't enjoyed the experience.
Well, John Flynn, thank you so much for your time today. Where can people get your new album, Kindred Spirits?
Well, this album's just out digitally at the moment, so you'd have to go to your finer streaming platforms. Um, but I hope people will check it out.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll put links to the album and to your website and to the upcoming shows all in the show notes on this podcast. So, John,
Thank
thanks
you, Sean.
again.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks for your time. Hopefully I'll see you again soon.
Great talking to you.
I don't think anyone wants to hear about football/soccer.
Oh man, I'm stoked. I'm in the parking lot of a 7-Eleven in El Cajon, California. Man, these are great questions.
I think the answers are probably better.